The world steeped in corruption. The primary texts, Genesis chapters 5 through 10, introduce him as a descendant of Adam through Seth. He is uniquely described as blameless in his generation, and as one who walked with God, setting him apart from the pervasive wickedness around him. His role transcends that of a mere individual. Noah is presented as a righteous remnant chosen for humanity's renewal. Through his survival, a new post-flood world begins, populated by both humanity and the animal kingdom. He becomes the recipient of the first explicit covenant in the Bible, detailed in Genesis chapter 9, marked by the enduring sign of the rainbow. Across Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions, Noah stands as a profound model of unwavering obedience and immense endurance under extreme duress. The Qur'an, particularly in Suras 11 and 71, retells his narrative, albeit with distinct theological emphasis. He represents faithfulness against overwhelming societal depravity. The biblical account of Noah is primarily found in the Hebrew Bible, specifically Genesis chapters 6 through 9. These chapters form the core narrative of the flood and the ark. Genesis chapters 5 and 10 provide genealogical frameworks, placing Noah within Adam's lineage and identifying him as the ancestor of the post-flood nations. From a source-critical perspective, many biblical scholars, applying the documentary hypothesis, suggest the Genesis flood story weaves together at least two earlier traditions. These are often labeled the J&P sources, helping to explain doublets and internal narrative tensions, such as varying numbers of animal pairs or different divine names. The final biblical form, however, is a carefully edited theological narrative, not a raw historical account. Long before the biblical text reached its current form, ancient Mesopotamian cultures shared striking flood narratives. The Epic of Gilgamesh, particularly Tablet 11, features a hero named Utnapishtim, commanded by a god to build a boat, preserve life, release birds, and offer sacrifice after the flood. Similarly, the Atrahasis epic tells of Atrahasis who survives a flood sent due to human noise. Most scholars view the biblical flood story as being in conversation with these older Mesopotamian traditions. It adapts shared motifs but reshapes them to express Israel's distinctive theology of one God, moral judgment, and covenant mercy. This process of reinterpretation transformed common ancient themes into a unique Israelite theological statement. Before Noah, the biblical narrative paints a picture of escalating corruption. Genesis chapters 1 and 2 initially present a harmonious creation. However, Genesis chapters 3 and 4 detail the fall of humanity through Adam and Eve, followed by Cain's violence against Abel, marking a growing alienation from God and the introduction of widespread violence. By Genesis chapter 6, the world reaches a terrifying moral nadir. The text states that every inclination of the thoughts of their hearts was only evil continually, leading to divine grief and the decision to send the flood. This pre-Noah world is portrayed as morally disintegrating, with pervasive violence and injustice defining human existence. After Noah, the flood narrative presents a dramatic reset, yet one with inherent limitations. Noah emerges as a second Adam, blessed to be fruitful and multiply and to till the ground. God establishes a covenant, promising never again to destroy all life by flood, symbolizing a new commitment to stability. Human violence is now restrained, with accountability for bloodshed instituted in Genesis chapter 9. However, the persistence of sin is evident in Noah's own drunkenness and family conflict, recorded in Genesis chapter 9. This shows that the flood did not miraculously erase human brokenness. The Tower of Babel in Genesis chapter 11 further continues the theme of human pride and divine intervention. The flood, therefore, is not a perfect fix but a profound reframing of the relationship between God, humanity, and creation. The narrative of Noah's flood is filled with trials. Noah faces the immense challenge of faith, commanded to build a colossal ark against societal norms, a task demanding unwavering trust. His family endures isolation, bearing the weight of future humanity. Caring for myriad animals on the ark underscores Noah's stewardship over all land life. The long months of waiting, first for the waters to subside, then for the land to dry, punctuated by the sending of birds, highlight a period of profound uncertainty and cautious disembarkation. The story emphasizes obedience under pressure, trust in a divine promise, and the profound cost of being a righteous minority in a fallen world. Across various cultures, flood stories exhibit a graded grandeur, ranging from local catastrophes to cosmic retellings. Scholars suggest that even a devastating regional flood can, over generations, be remembered and retold as a world-destroying event. Mesopotamian epics, for instance, often focus on large but regional floods, likely within the Tigris or Euphrates basin. The Genesis account, however, uses universal language, speaking of all the earth and all flesh, framing the flood as a cosmic moral event rather than merely a natural disaster. This presents a spectrum, from historically plausible local floods through mythic epic expansions to the theological universalization found in the biblical narrative. From a geological standpoint, the overwhelming consensus is that there is no evidence for a single recent global flood that covered all mountains and reset all life. Earth's sedimentary record reveals diverse environments over hundreds of millions of years, not a uniform global catastrophe. Layers of rock salt, gypsum, and mud-cracked red beds requiring long-term evaporation are interlayered with fossil-bearing sediments. These formations contradict a single year-long flood, but belief is believing. Other forces, such as asteroids, magma activity, shifts in Earth's orbit, and/or colossal fires, could have occurred during this same time period, overshadowing the flood. Some scientists and biblical scholars propose that the Noah story might preserve the memory of a massive regional flood, later amplified into universal terms. The Tigris-Euphrates region, for example, is prone to catastrophic flooding, an event that could have devastated what felt like the whole world to local inhabitants. Other hypotheses, such as the rapid flooding of the Black Sea basin, have also been suggested, though they remain debated and lack universal acceptance. In this view, the historical truth of Noah's flood lies in a regional catastrophe, while the biblical text employs cosmic language to convey profound theological meaning. The Genesis account speaks of fountains of the great deep bursting forth and windows of the heavens opening, with rain for 40 days and nights. While Earth's climate has seen abrupt regional changes, such as glacial lake outburst floods, these are localized and occurred over vast timescales, not as a single global deluge. Skeptics raise several compelling critiques against a literal interpretation of Noah's flood. Biologically, questions arise regarding how all land animals could fit on a single wooden vessel, and how genetic diversity could be re-established from such tiny founding populations. The search for the Ark has not been successful. It was last said to have been located on Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey. Despite this scientific skepticism, a significant portion of the public affirms the story literally. An ABC News poll from 2004 indicated that approximately 60% of Americans believed the story of Noah and the flood happened that way, word for word. Literal belief is particularly high among evangelical Protestants who frequently attend church, highlighting a stark contrast between scientific findings and popular religious conviction. Biblical scholars, however, often approach the Noah story differently. Many modern scholars emphasize its literary, theological, and comparative mythological dimensions, rather than treating it as straightforward historical reportage. Early Christian thinkers such as Augustine interpreted the flood both historically and symbolically, seeing it as a type of baptism, judgment, and new creation. Throughout history, saints and theologians have treated Noah as a real figure, while also acknowledging his rich symbolism of faith, obedience, and salvation. This demonstrates a long tradition of layered readings, literal, moral, and symbolic, within both Judaism and Christianity. In the biblical narrative, all humanity after the flood is said to descend from Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Genesis chapter 10, known as the Table of Nations, traces various peoples back to these three ancestral lines. Within this theological framework, one could conclude that 100% of post-flood humanity carries Noah's line. From a modern genetics and population biology perspective, the scientific picture is quite different. Global human genetic diversity reflects a large, ancient population, not a single family bottleneck occurring only a few thousand years ago. Mitochondrial DNA, Y chromosome data, and autosomal variation all point to complex population histories over hundreds of thousands of years, characterized by multiple bottlenecks and expansions, not a recent reset to 8 individuals. However, there is good evidence that ancient Mesopotamia experienced devastating regional floods. These events could plausibly underlie both the Mesopotamian and biblical flood traditions, serving as historical roots for narratives later universalized. In this context, evidence points towards regional catastrophe. In a literary and theological sense, the Noah story is a meticulously crafted narrative that reworks older motifs to express a distinctive vision of God's justice, grief, and mercy. Its evidence resides in the enduring power of its symbolism: corruption, divine judgment, survival through obedience, and a covenant that sets limits on divine wrath. This narrative provides profound spiritual and moral insights. Before Noah, the Bible paints a stark picture of a world spiraling into profound violence and corruption. Noah's time marks a radical intervention, a righteous minority, a catastrophic flood, and a dramatic reset framed as both judgment and mercy. After Noah, humanity continues to struggle with its inherent flaws, but now operates under a covenant that promises stability and establishes clear moral boundaries. Scientifically, a literal global flood and a single-family restart of humanity are not supported by the overwhelming evidence from geology or genetics. Historically and culturally, however, the Noah story stands at a crucial crossroads. It connects ancient Mesopotamian flood traditions with Israel's emerging theology, and it continues to profoundly shape how people conceive of evil, catastrophe, survival, and the enduring promise of second chances. This deep dive reveals a clear, richly detailed picture of Noah's world, encompassing what Scripture actually says, what ancient Near Eastern history suggests, and where later traditions and scientific inquiry fill in or challenge the gaps.